Hey guys, what's up? It's Monka Zonky. Welcome back to the Washington Wizards MyGM. We're nearing the end of the season, almost all the way through February, and we have a very good record right now. We're 36-20, but we're going to be going up against the team that has the best record in the NBA at 37-16, and that's the San Antonio Spurs. We're not too far behind them record-wise, which is pretty awesome, but unfortunately we got another injury. John Wall is out. He is unable to play whatsoever, and unfortunately that really hurts our cause because that's our best player, the leader of our team, and we still have Joey Bradshaw out for the remainder of the season, which really hurts our big men because our big man rotation is not as deep as our guards rotation, and it's already getting to the point where I'm having to play players like Brandon Davies meaningful minutes during games, and that's never a good thing. So I might actually have to go out and sign a free agent before we get in the playoffs, because if one other injury happens, our front line is going to be decimated. But I did decide to start Tyreke Evans at the point guard just because Tyreke Evans at the point guard is such a mismatch for opposing point guards. He's one of those rare players who's like 6'6", as we pass the wide open three and Trevor Ariza hits a three. He had quite a good night. He did get the starting role at the small forward because Tyreke was running the point, but Tyreke did run point guard in college at Memphis, and he's really good at it just because he's one of the few players that's 6'5", 6'6", and quick enough to defend opposing point guards, but he's just so strong that other point guards can't guard him. Outside of a player like Russell Westbrook, maybe, no other point guard can D him up, and he just goes to town and eats the opposing point guards for breakfast. And Tony Parker manages to get the nice and one over Donatas Motiejunas there, who's starting, of course, over the injured Joey Bradshaw, which is a really big downgrade. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but I got him in the post, kicking it out to Bradley Beal, who makes a nice cut to the rim, and he's finishing for two. So unfortunately, we're at a pretty big disadvantage against the Spurs team in this game just because John Wall is out, and even though we got a nice mismatch with Tyreke, our bench is not going to be doing so hot. As Marcin Gortat cuts the rim, he gets the pass from Tyreke, and he manages to slam it. So I was mainly looking just to try to remain competitive without John Wall. Unfortunately, when I am playing with John Wall, my entire offense runs through him, so it's really hard to get used to not having him in the game. It's a very different game style, as Kevin Martin is in the game, and he passes, I believe, to Kyle Anderson, who is going to be a Spurs second-year player. And Kevin Martin is a really nice pickup for the Spurs. He's going to be their main offense off of the bench, and they're definitely going to be glad to have him. He's going to help out a lot in the playoffs, giving the team some much-needed depth, as Patty Mills is just going to hit the difficult three with the hand right in his face here. Kind of a bad first quarter for both teams offensively. Both teams were shooting quite low shooting percentages. Again, I'm running offense through Tyreke Evans, who's a very different player than John Wall, so it's a little bit hard to get used to. And now we got Tyreke Evans in at the small forward. He gets the difficult and one, finishing over Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin's a pretty small dude, so you always want to take advantage. If he's at the small forward position, you can definitely muscle him down in the post. But going into the second quarter, we're still keeping it close. The Spurs are only up by 3 at this point, and I'm very impressed with what we've been able to do so far as Kawhi Leonard takes it to the rim. He gets the contact, and the Spurs budding superstar finishes with the hoop and the harm, and he is such a nice player for the Spurs. Probably one of the top 2 or 3 best perimeter defensive players in the NBA, as well as being pretty solid offensively as well, and he's just such a good player for the Spurs to have. So unfortunately, the Spurs, as Kawhi Leonard yet again cuts the rim and he passes, but it gets tipped right into the arms of Tim Duncan, and he finishes. And when the Spurs beat you with good, solid offense, that's one thing, and then when they get just lucky plays to fall like that, that's quite another. Speaking of lucky plays, Manu Ginobili is just going to pull up with Bradley Beal's hand right in his face, and he manages to hit it as well. That's just a nice shot. Not really a whole lot you can do to that, other than just tip your cap to him and say, hey, nice shot, man. And the Spurs are starting to make a run here midway through the second quarter. I was keeping things close early. Tony Parker just cuts the rim. I fall asleep, and Tony Parker manages to finish. They're on a 13-5 run, and things are starting to get out of hand as we're nearing halftime. And I have Garrett Temple in running the point guard slot. For whatever reason, my coach has Tyreke Evans. Nice finish, good contest from Boris Diaw, but Tyreke Evans is just too good finishing at the rim. I love playing with him in those fast break situations. But for whatever reason, our coach thought it was a good idea to run Garrett Temple at the backup point guard instead of CJ Watson. I was trying to get CJ Watson in the game with some manual substitutions, and Kevin Martin's just going to hit the difficult step back three-pointer right in Garrett Temple's face. And yeah, Garrett Temple just is unable to run the point guard. He had a lot of turnovers and just kind of messed up the offensive flow, so that was a little bit frustrating. Maybe it goes to show that we need another backup guy who can handle the ball along with CJ Watson and Tyreek Evans as well, because John Wall does have some injury problems. He does seem to be fairly prone to hurting himself, because it has happened both in last season and this season. He had some longer term injuries. I believe the injury he currently has is a 3-week injury, and then he's back in the lineup, so it's not too bad. It's not out for the season at least, because that would really kind of destroy the playoff chances, but we're still in the hunt. And unfortunately, Bradley Beal this game has just not been able to pick up the slack. As Garrett Temple says, "Why are you sagging off me?" He just manages to hit it. For whatever reason, Patty Mills thought it would be a good idea to stand like 3 feet behind one of our best three-point shooters and not put his hands up. Hand down, man down, that's what they say. But looking at the halftime stats here, our field goal percentage is ugly. 32% from the field. That is not good. The Spurs are shooting a nice, healthy 45%. Our lone good performer, though, is Tyreek Evans. He's been very, very impressive. He has not had any problems with shooting at all, and I probably should have just fed him the ball more in retrospect, as Tony Parker takes a deep three, and he manages to hit it as well. And Tony Parker has been improving a little bit that three-point shot. So we have our actual third-string point guard here, Edwin Oliverio, something like that. He's just a drafted rookie that I don't think I've ever played with him personally before, but I put him in the game. Tyreek Evans gets ripped, and they're running the fast break, and Manu is going to finish. Bradley Beal was unable to do anything to stop the ball there, but it was a 2-on-1. I don't really blame him for that. And yeah, I'm getting to the point where I'm putting my third-string point guard in the game just to see if he can do anything. Unfortunately, Donatas Montaiunas is, unfortunately for the Spurs anyway, able to contest the shot and miss, but the Spurs get the ball back. Tim Duncan finishes. Tim Duncan is still just chugging along. He's, what, like 39 years old. I believe in this MyGm as someone on my team. Trevor Ariza gets the nice block. We're running in transition, and CJ Watson's just going to pull up, and he's going to hit it. We're trying to make a run here, but we're down by 19 points midway through the third. Although we would cut down the lead a little bit later on in the third quarter, as Trevor Ariza is going to help that out a little bit, help his case for a solid outing tonight with a three-pointer. And it's down to 13, so we are going on these little spurts where we do score a decent amount of points and also stop the Spurs, because we still have our defense. Our defense has not been great in this game, but the Spurs have also been hitting some really tough shots, like that one with Kevin Martin. He was open for a small window of opportunity to get the three-pointer off, but he did finish it as well. So Garrett Temple is just too strong, cutting the rim. Corey Joseph fouls him, but he still finishes the shot. That's very impressive to see from Garrett Temple. Even though he's mostly a three-point specialist, it's nice to get a bit of extra stuff from him as well, and that was definitely the case. So I'm trying to take Patty Mills in the post. It wasn't a good idea because he got the ball stolen. Never ever try to post up guards in NBA 2K15. They always steal the ball from you, or at least if you do post them up, only stay in that post for a couple of seconds, because they will sooner rather than later steal. But speaking of steals, Tyreek Evans gets the steal, and he passes it to Trevor Ariza, who dunks in transition. That was a very nice play by Tyreek Evans. Again, he's just so impressive. I love playing with Tyreek. I know he's not the most efficient player in real life, but I think he's very, very good in this game. Dumb shot taken by Donatas Montaiunas, and the Spurs, of course, don't take that many dumb shots, and manages to hit a long two with the heels on the three-point line by Kawhi Leonard. So I was trying to keep this game a little short, because if you couldn't tell by the score, yeah, there was no comeback tonight. Unfortunately, having John Wall out of the game was just a little too much to overcome, as well as the fact that the Spurs are just a very, very good, a well-oiled machine on offense, if you will. And Tyreek Evans hits the corner three, even with the pretty bad release, which was impressive. But what's even more impressive is Tyreek Evans here gets the ball from the out-of-bounds play, and he's going to kick it out to Bradley Beal, who's just going to hit a really deep three. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the triple-double, the first triple-double that I have had, at least in a non-simulated user-played game in NBA 2K15. I've had them, of course, in the past. Andre Iguodala used to be a triple-double machine in past games, but we won't talk about that. And Steve Blake manages to get the tough finish, and he's just going to rub it in a little bit near the end of this game. I'm going to toss up a wild shot, and we're going to end up losing 109-84. Very, very unimpressive outing by the Wizards, but I did not have the highest expectations for them. With John Wall out of the game, I'm fully okay with this loss, and I do understand it, but it is still disappointing to just kind of lay an egg against the Spurs team. So Tyreek Evans was very impressive. 22, 11, and 11. You don't see stat lines better than that very often. As well as he shot 70% from the field and 7 for 11 from the free throw line. So he was putting in work. But unfortunately, Bradley Beal, 5 for 19 from the field. That is ugly, and he didn't get to the line once. So that was one of the major factors in our demise, I think. Bradley Beal is a very, very high overall player, but for whatever reason, he just seems to struggle a lot more often than not. But he is a jump shooter, and he is kind of streaky, so that's probably why. And yeah, the Spurs really just feasted on us this game. It's a tough loss, but it happens sometimes, and I'll see you guys with the next video. Final regular season game of the season. Farewell.